Imagine one man, six companies, from rockets to neural networks, from electric cars to robots, from brain chips to tunnels under cities. And there he sits at his desk with a schedule broken into 5-minute blocks. 5 minutes for a meeting, 5 minutes for lunch, 5 minutes just to think. Sounds like a joke? For Elon Musk, it's a regular Tuesday. Breakfast is sometimes just a Mars bar. Lunch, he literally inhales in 5 minutes between two meetings. Doesn't sit at a table, doesn't pick a restaurant, shoves food in and runs. Musk has said that time is the only asset you cannot buy. Money can be earned, connections can be built, but time, no. So he breaks it into the tiniest pieces to not lose a single minute. But here's what's truly strange. This man was on the brink of bankruptcy twice. They called him a fraud. Journalists bet on his failure. Investors shorted his stock. Regulators opened cases against him. And every single time, he turned out to be right. Not because he got lucky, because he saw what others didn't. He saw 10 years ahead. He saw through the noise. He saw through the mockery. He saw what seemed impossible until it became obvious. Today, the full story. Who he is, where he came from, how he built an empire from nothing, how he was 3 times on the edge of total collapse, and why his next move could change not just the market, but civilization itself. We will trace the path from a basement in Palo Alto to $1 trillion, from exploding rockets to the first private spacecraft, from the laughter of auto giants to the most valuable car company in the world, from one video game sold for $500 to an empire stretching from Earth to Mars. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa, on June 28, 1971. His father was an engineer, his mother a model and dietitian. His parents divorced when Elon was 9 years old. He chose to live with his father, and later called that a mistake. He said his father was a difficult man, that childhood was not easy, that he grew up in an atmosphere where he constantly had to prove his right to exist. At school, they beat him, badly enough for the hospital, badly enough for surgeries. He was small, quiet, didn't fit into the South African system where strength was valued above intellect. His classmates pushed him downstairs, beat him after class, forced him to give up his belongings. He read 10 hours a day. Science fiction, Asimov, Heinlein, Douglas Adams. Philosophy, physics. At 12, he wrote his first video game, Blaster, a space shooter inspired by the very fiction he devoured. He sold it to a local magazine for $500. $500 for code written by a 12-year-old boy in his bedroom in South Africa. These were his first earned dollars, and the first signal that he could create value from nothing, from ideas, from code, from pure thought. The key moment of his youth. He read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And there was a line, the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. Musk later said this book taught him not to find answers, but to ask the right questions. That the question matters more than the answer. That if you frame the right question, the answer will find itself. This philosophy became his method for life. Don't follow the crowd. Don't accept rules as given. Ask, why exactly this way? Why not otherwise? What if everything we know is wrong? At 17, he left South Africa through his mother's passport, her Canadian citizenship. He worked on farms, cleaned boilers, sold computers, delivered newspapers, lived in cheap dormitories, saved every dollar. Then Queen's University in Kingston, then the University of Pennsylvania. 2 degrees, physics and economics. Physics taught him to think from first principles, to break problems down to atoms, to the very essence, rather than copying what others do. Economics taught him money, capital, the system in which everything turns. But he didn't want to be a scientist in the academic sense. He wanted to change the world. And for that, he needed to go where the future was born, to California, to Silicon Valley, where 20-year-olds in garages built companies that in 10 years changed the planet. 1995. Musk and his brother Kimball, 3 years younger, rent an office, basically a basement, and launch Zip2, an online directory for newspapers. The idea was simple. Newspapers wanted to be on the internet, but didn't understand how. Zip2 gave them a ready solution: maps, directories, navigation. They slept in the office on air mattresses, showered at the YMCA, ate pizza and Chinese noodles. Investors gave them $3 million, but appointed an experienced CEO, a man who, in their opinion, knew how to manage. Musk was pushed out of management. He remained technical director, but decisions were made without him. This was his first lesson: investor money is not your money. And if you don't control the company, it's not yours. In 1999, Compaq bought Zip2 for $370 million. Musk got $22 million at 27 years old. For a guy who slept in a basement 3 years ago, this was incredible success. But he didn't go buy a yacht, didn't fly to the Maldives. He immediately started thinking about the next project. Because $22 million is not the goal. It's fuel. The next project, X.com. Online banking. Musk puts in $10 million from his own money. The idea was radical. Banks are dinosaurs. They're slow, expensive, tied to paperwork. X.com was to be a bank for the internet. Instant transfer. No branches. No lines. Competitor, Confinity, Peter Thiel, and Max Levchin's company, with the PayPal service. In 2000, they merge. Musk becomes CEO, but a month later, they fire him while he's on his honeymoon. The board votes for Peter Thiel. Musk learns about it by phone while on a plane. His second lesson: even if you're the founder, you could be thrown out at any moment, even on your honeymoon. In 2002, eBay buys PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk gets $165 million and walks away, not to a beach, not to a yacht, to space. 3 things he learned at PayPal: banks are slow, money must be digital, and most importantly, humanity must become a multi-planetary species, or we go extinct. Not a metaphor, not a poetic phrase. He literally calculated that catastrophe was inevitable. Asteroid, nuclear war, climate collapse, and that the only way to preserve the species was to have a backup planet. Musk, 2002. Musk flies to Russia to buy rockets. He wants to launch a small greenhouse to Mars, the Mars Oasis project, to grow plants and prove that life is possible. The Russians laugh, offer a price of $80 million for one rocket. Musk walks out. On the plane back to America, he calculates. The cost of rocket materials is 2% of the price. The rest is bureaucracy, corruption, middlemen, legacy of the Cold War. He decides to build himself. Not buy, build, from scratch, without experience, without engineers, without understanding how it works. Just reads aerospace engineering textbooks and starts. 2002, founding of Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, or simply SpaceX. Musk invests $100 million, the bulk of his fortune. He figured on 3 launches to success. Reality proved harsher. 2004, first Falcon 1 launch. Explosion. 30 seconds after start. The engine stalled. The rocket fell into the ocean. 2006, second launch. Explosion. This time at 189 seconds, due to corrosion of an aluminum part. 2008, third launch. Explosion. Already in orbit during stage separation attempt. 3 explosions. 3 failures. Money ran out. He had literally enough for a 4th launch. If that one exploded too, SpaceX would cease to exist. Musk would lose $100 million, his reputation, his dream, and possibly his sanity, because he already wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, worked 120 hours a week, driving himself to a nervous breakdown. September 28, 2008. 4th Falcon 1 launch. Tension in the control room. Musk at the center. Countdown. Start. First stage worked. Second stage worked. Payload separation. Success. The first private spacecraft in Earth orbit. History. SpaceX survived. 2 years later, a NASA contract for $1.5 billion to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. 8 years later, a contract to deliver astronauts. 14 years later, the first private crew in orbit. 22 years later, IPO and a valuation of $2 trillion. But here's what matters. Musk wasn't just building rockets. He was building a system. Reusable rockets that land back instead of falling into the ocean. Starlink, satellite internet for the entire planet. Starship, the ship from Mars. Every step, part of a plan. Not a business plan. A plan to save humanity. He says he doesn't earn money for money's sake. He earns money to build a city on Mars. This sounds insane, but if you look at his track record, insanity works. While SpaceX flew and crashed, Musk made a parallel move. He bought a company everyone thought was a scam and nearly destroyed both. 2004, Musk invests $6 million in Tesla, a startup by two engineers, Martin Eberhard and Martar Penning. The idea, a sports electric car that would prove electricity is not a compromise but an advantage. Musk becomes chairman of the board. In 2008, he becomes CEO, releases the Roadster, the first production electric car with a range of 245 miles. But there's no money. The Fremont factory is empty. Suppliers demand prepayment that doesn't exist. Engineers leave for competitors. The media calls the project a failure. 2012 Model S, the first mass-market premium electric car. But production is a disaster. Musk sleeps at the factory, in the conference room, in the office behind a couch. Works 120 hours a week, 17 hours a day. In 2018, production hell. Tesla was supposed to produce 5,000 Model 3s per week, but delivered 2,000. The company on the brink of bankruptcy. Musk says he slept on the floor under his desk because there was no time to go home. That every day was a fight for survival. That he woke up at night in a cold sweat because he didn't know how to pay salaries next month. And here's the key moment. All the auto giants laughed. GM, Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen. They all had electric car prototypes, but nobody took them seriously. The electric car was a toy for environmentalists, a niche product, a compromise. Musk believed and bet everything. Sold shares, mortgaged his house, took personal loans. If Tesla had fallen, he would have lost everything. Not just the company, his entire fortune, his home, his reputation. It didn't fall. Model 3 became the best-selling electric car in history. Tesla, the most valuable car company in the world, surpassing Toyota, Volkswagen, GM, and Ford combined. And that's when a new chapter began. But Musk was already thinking beyond cars. He was thinking about brains, about robots, about what to do when machines start thinking faster than us. 2016, Neuralink. Brain chips, first for the paralyzed, so they could control a computer with the power of thought. Then for everyone. Musk says that without this, humanity cannot compete with artificial intelligence. That if we don't merge with machines, machines will surpass us. The idea sounds like science fiction, but the first trials on monkeys and humans have already shown it works. A paralyzed patient plays chess with his mind. This is not the future. This is happening now. 2017, The Boring Company. Tunnels under cities. Because traffic is the cancer of society. Musk believes three-dimensionality is the solution. Above ground, sky, below ground tunnels. The first tunnel in Las Vegas is already working. Next, Los Angeles, Chicago, maybe into your city. 2023, XAI. Because ChatGPT from OpenAI is pro-Microsoft, and artificial intelligence must be pro-humanity. Grok, a chatbot with vibe, with access to Twitter with humor. Musk assembled a team of the best AI researchers and built Colossus One, one of the largest data centers in the world. Not to earn on advertising, but to understand the universe. Every project is not a separate company. It's part of one system. Space, energy, transport, communication, artificial intelligence. brain, robots, all connected, all serving one goal: make humanity a multi-planetary species. This is not business. This is a mission, and a mission tolerates no compromises. But here's what's interesting. While he built the future, his present collapsed. Twitter, politics, scandals, and buying a social network for $44 billion. A move many called the biggest mistake of his life. 2022. Musk buys Twitter for $44 billion. Says it's for free speech. That the platform had become too censored, that algorithms suppress unwanted opinions. Fires 75% of employees, 7,500 people in one night. Introduces paid verification. Changes algorithms. Advertisers leave. Disney, Apple, IBM. Valuation drops. The media calls him a destroyer. Former employees sue. Europe threatens fines. 2024. Becomes head of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, under President Trump. Cuts budgets, fires bureaucrats, hacks the system. Opponents call him dangerous. Supporters call him a savior. They say he finally does what politicians feared for decades. Critics, that he destroys the state from within. The scandals never end. But Musk continues, because for him, Twitter is not a social network. It's data. Data for artificial intelligence. Data for XAI. Data for the future. Every tweet, every post, every conversation. Fuel for the machine that will soon think for us. And now we come to today, July 2026. SpaceX went public. Musk is one step from $1 trillion. Tesla launches robot Axis. Optimus prepares for production. And the question is no longer whether he can do it. The question is, what comes next, and what it means for all of us. June 2026. SpaceX IPO. Price, $135 per share. Now $149. Valuation close to $2 trillion. Musk, the first person in history whose fortune is measured in trillions. Not billions, trillions. This is a number hard to comprehend. This is more than the GDP of most countries in the world. Tesla robot Axis in Austin, Texas. No driver. No pedals. No steering wheel. Waymo, owned by Google, does 450,000 paid rides per week. The battle for the future of transport has just begun. The autonomous taxi market, $10 trillion. This is bigger than the oil market. Bigger than the gold market. Optimus, production starts this year. Price, $20,000. Musk says, first it will be excruciatingly slow. Then, insanely fast. A robot that works 24 hours a day. That doesn't tire. Doesn't get sick. Doesn't demand salary. If this works, it changes everything. Manufacturing. Logistics. Household labor. Everything. XAI plus SpaceX égale AI empire. Contracts for $26 billion per year. Google pays. Anthropic pays. Everyone pays, because without SpaceX computing power, modern artificial intelligence is impossible. Colossus One, one of the largest data centers in the world. And this is just the beginning. And Mars. Still Mars. Not this year. Not next year. But the plan hasn't changed. Starship, the ship that must deliver the first humans. Lunar base, a stopover. The red planet, the final goal. Humanity must become multi-planetary. Otherwise, in Musk's words, we simply go extinct. Like dinosaurs. Like all species that couldn't adapt. So, one man, 6 companies, 2 near bankruptcies, 3 explosions, hundreds of scandals, thousands of enemies, and $1 trillion. What does it mean? Not that Musk is a genius. Not that he's lucky. It means he sees the world differently. He doesn't ask why. He asks why not. He doesn't fear looking stupid. He fears not trying. He doesn't follow the crowd. He goes where there is no crowd. And then the crowd runs after him. And here's the final question. Not about Musk. About you. What do you see that others don't? What are you willing to lose to build it? And how many times are you willing to fall before you fly? Because Musk fell dozens of times. lost companies, lost friends, lost health, and every time got back up. Not because he was strong, not because he was smart, but because he believed the next time would be different, that the rocket wouldn't explode, that the factory wouldn't close, that the world could be changed if you just refused to give up long enough. And sometimes he was right. Not always, not every time, but often enough to turn a boy who was beaten in a South African school into the first trillionaire in history. From a guy who slept in a basement and sold computers, into the owner of an empire stretching from Earth to Mars. Perhaps the secret is not in the rockets, not in the electric cars, not in the robots. Perhaps the secret is that he simply didn't stop. When everyone said impossible, he asked why not. When everyone laughed, he built. When everyone left, he stayed. And eventually, the world changed. Not because it had to be, but because one man decided that it would be.